Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and it is April 4th, YC125, and this is the EVE Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for coming. If you are returning, thank you so much for being here. Either way, make sure you like the video if you find any of this interesting or fun, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel so that way you can get all of my videos when they come out, including the live streams. But yeah, let's go ahead and start to jump into the news. First of news, I now have my new t-shirt, and I'm drinking out of my new Convocation of Empyreans mug, which are just some of the merchandise that are now available on my merch store, which, if you cannot see it for some reason, let me know. For some reason, some people can't see the merch store. Maybe if you don't have your payment information put into YouTube or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you don't, let me know, because some people just don't see it if you are interested. But enough shtick. On the 24th, there was a new Eden news that came out. So we're going to do I was going to do a reading of this, but it's fairly short, and it really is just kind of catching up, and there's a scope video to do, too. So I figured I'd just do the reading of it here. DED and EDENCOM security briefing highlights concerns over Empire's Shadow War violence. Ulai Genesis. DED and EDENCOM leadership highlighted serious concerns over the rising violence associated with the so-called Shadow War between the core empires in a rare public briefing before the New Eden Cluster's Security Committee CSC of the Concord Inner Circle today. In particular, DED Star Marshal, I can never pronounce their name, Eladal noted the significant increase in Capsuleer combat in high security space due to the conflicts between suspect flagged vessels at Empire research facilities. Provost Marshal Kashia Valkanir also reported on increased mercenary and pirate activity associated with raids on research facilities, additionally noting that EDENCOM was tracking significant flows of illicit data, ISK, and advanced materials smuggled to locations spread across the outer regions of New Eden. The DED Star Marshal Elendal and EDENCOM's Provost Marshal Kashia Valkanir were addressing the New Eden CEC following their request from the Society of Conscious Thought's elder mentor Matashi Reich. The New Eden CEC is an evolution of the Inner Circle's War Council set up during the Triglavian invasions, and includes appointees from all 5 member states of the Inner Circle, together with the leadership of Concord's military, intelligence, and security branches. The CSC briefing also heard a report from Colonel Ovig Dursk, commander of the notorious Red Troop Anti-War Clone Unit of Sorrow, Concord Special Affairs for Regulation and Order Division. Colonel Durst outlined recent activities in Placid region, particularly in the militia war zone, and detailed the elimination of, quote, terrorist front organizations of Triglavian-affiliated war clone cells, end quote, together with a brief mention of operations in conjunction with DERAIL, the Department for Enforcement of Restrictions on Artificial Intelligence and Life. The New Eden Cluster Security Committee entered a closed session to hear further particulars on increased Triglavian activities, renegade war clone cells, special operations associated with the Concord mandate to eliminate rogue AIs. I think that this is an interesting one because this is kind of the piece that's been underlying all of this. Or with all of the spying row and everything that led to the Shadow War, there was a lack of confidence in EDENCOM and in Concord, and it seems very clear that the Caldari are attempting to hide things from everyone with the bioadaptive Caldari soldier and the, whatnot. Now, what also is being hidden in Yagalis and what has been going on there is also, very spooky. We've been going over this with the previous New Eden News stuff. This only kind of tangentially touches on it, but as I was saying last time, it's like, I find it really interesting that in this time that everybody's focusing on this one thing, like EDENCOM is like, or Concord is like, hey guys, there's all of this smuggling and other like kind of standard-ish pirate activity, these renegade, and in this case, renegade war clone cells, and they're being largely ignored because of this like environment of distrust. Gallente Federation Senate ratifies non-intervention treaty with Amar Empire. Valor Essence. The Federation Senate has ratified a non-intervention treaty with the Amar Empire following the recommendation of President Celis Agard, the Federal Security Council, and the Senate Subcommittee on the Amar-Gallente relations. The Treaty of Pashani was negotiated between the Empire and Federation following Caldari Mimitar moves for a non-aggression pact and formalized the ceasefire between the Amar and Gallente forces in the militia war zones. The ratification passed comfortably despite some opposition of the so-called Belligerent faction of senators strongly opposed to the President Agard's military and diplomatic policies. The Treaty of Pashani has already been formally received by the Imperial Privy Council and ordered by Empress Katniss I to be promulgated as an element of Amar scripture by the Theology Council. The entering of the non-intervention treaty with the Amar scriptures will formalize it as part of the body of law of the Empire, meaning that the Treaty of Pashani is now fully effective. With the Treaty of Arakan between the Caldari and Mimitaran force, the Treaty of Pashani brings to a complete end the previous system of military allegiances that created 2 power blocks within the Concord empires. Okay, so a couple things to say here. First of all, I feel like CCP has gotten a lot better at the idea of the slow burn. There's a lot of these news that are laboring on the methodical processes of what is happening. So in this case with the treaty, we had the 2 different treaties start to be discussed. There was meetings to be had. Those meetings had proposals. Those proposals had people, delegates go to officiate. Those delegates returned back home. Those proposals were ratified. You know, the signed proposals were ratified. Now they're being presented. First on the Minmatar Caldari side, now on the Mar Gallente side. Just like with Intaki, right? They made Intaki go up rank by rank. They didn't just make it 0.6, they made it 0.2, then 0.3. Right now, we have what's going on in Intaki. We have the senators. You know, there was the protests. Then there were the senators sent. And then the senators inspected this place. And then the senators inspected that place. And now the senators are moving to speak with certain leaders. There's kind of this sense that we are walking a path. We know that we're working towards something, even though we don't know what the results are going to be. It also sets up some very critical things, namely the splits that are growing within the factions, the various cracks that are beginning to grow within the great empires. So we've already known from a little bit ago that there is kind of this rift growing within the Amar Empire between those loyal to Katniss I and, say, Ardashapur and Sorum, for example. It hasn't come to any kind of head yet, but there are clearly rifts starting to grow. Likewise, you know, obviously the Caldari have been split into their new 3 factions, the Mountain faction, the Ocean faction, and the Forest faction. The Minmatar now have, what's her name? Or what's their name? Midular. Midular, the new the Midular spokesman, speaking out directly against the policies of the Shakarite government, right? So you have a division growing within the leadership of the Minmatar. Now, the Gallente have always had kind of the weakest internal confusion because, like, it's hard to divide the Gallente up in the same way. Like, we don't have mega corporations. The corporations aren't really the same way. We have districts, but, like, nobody gives a crap about districts. But here we see that since Celis Agard especially, and even before Celis Agard's inauguration, we have been growing a new split within the Gallente Federation, and it is rallied around this man, Suvio Belleron, who has been jaded and slighted and whatever. He's a political advantageous kind of slime ball, willing to use the pain of others in order to forward his own political agendas, but while at the same time, his political agendas end up being things like ending capital punishment and saying that maybe an imperial takeover of Gallente or Intaki is not great. But at the same time, like, he doesn't even speak for all the Intaki people. Like, even other Intaki often disagree with him. But as this has gone on, and as this event with Intaki have come to a head, Belleron has become really much the face of the resistance to Celis Agard. I find it really interesting that as we're moving forward and we're getting into the swing of these faction campaigns and how they can change the world, we are starting to build internal rifts within the empires, rifts that perhaps our successes and failures might exploit or affect. I'll get to the pirate pack in a little bit. Any tinfoil on what happens after the shipcasters get sorted? Another event for something? Well, I mean, I think that the next faction... Well, first of all, I think that the shipcaster event will last likely until up through the next expansion. We will finish the shipcaster event, and then we'll see the ramifications of the shipcaster stuff play out, and then we'll get the expansion, right? Just like in the previous faction campaign. We did the faction campaign, and then we saw the ramifications of the faction campaign with Turner and all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as we were done reeling from that, boom. Uprising. We know that the expansion's coming in June, probably mid to late June, which is on track to be roughly when a lot of these things should be completed up by then. So there you go. Oh yeah, don't forget the whole, like, Svarog going and invading too. We aren't touching on that yet. All right, so in other news, 24th Imperial Crusade Offensive in Ugidi continues as Vimini falls with pressure on Evanond. Faction warfare stuff. Caldari Navy stations in Syndicate region fully operational despite Guristas raid. Yeah, so all of the new Caldari Navy stations within Syndicate is now fully up and running, along with services, I believe. Same as the headquarters stations. Senate delegation to Intaki returns to Valor to prepare a report on situation on Intaki Prime. See? the process is continuing. So now we're waiting on a report. Lidai Mega Corporation signs new trade deal with Khanid Kingdom to supply military equipment. Again, we see this cooperation with Lidai and Khanid. I wonder what's going to happen there. I honestly don't know. Federation Navy anchorage in Intaki systems open facilities and military traffic increases. That's the HQ. Republic fleet completes rotation of floats when 4 garrisons and resupply of planetary fortifications. Quaif Corporation announces sponsorship of new Alohn Gardner Grab Ball Invitational Tour. Not sure if this is going to be relevant in the long run. There is some sus when it comes to Quaif, but Quaif is very much an opportunist when it comes to making headway between groups. Quaif already has a history of being the intermediary between the Alohn Gallente, as it turns out. So, Sekal Clan raiders repulsed by Harosorum forces after last-ditch attack on Vimini 2 Mineworks. So this is happening because Sekal Clan is a Minmatar pirate faction, potentially associated with the Deathless and the Thucker. And as you can see here, with Vimini falls to the 24th Imperial Crusade, that means that this system went from Minmatar to Amarr, hence the fact that the Amarr move in and show up and shoo off the Minmatar pirates. Mass demonstrations in Lenoika and Navi Akat in Intaki Prime, largely peaceful according to planetary gender arms. Triglavian clades apparently regrouping following spike of high activity and intense fighting. Taki Autonomous demands elections to assembly be held without delay after Executive Council proposes rescheduling. Verokyor shamans arrive on New Caledonia Prime for unprecedented visit to Landfall's shrine in invitation of Akimaka Saraki. Retirement home for space-adapted federal workers founded in orbit of Luminaire 8 or Tange. Khanid slaver ship mounting 4 guns captured on surface of Weratox 2 by Solitude Regional Gender Arms. So once again, a Khanid slaver ship being captured in Solitude. That's kind of weird. Sengdo overlords of the Prosperity Drive faction issue new series of bonded digital stamps to recoup Civil War losses. And Mindalir announces new tour of Minmatar Republic in protest of Treaty of Pashanai and in solidarity with the Matari people. So, again, more controversy. Already a border solitude. Yeah, okay, so they're probably sneaking over the side. But my point is that with Lidai, with all these different moving pieces, Lidai's working with Khanid, Khanid's operating in solitude, it just seems sus, is all I'm saying. So that is the New Eden news for March. Yeah, March 24th, YC 125. If this is, if you're watching this on as a recording, hi, thanks for watching, likes, comments, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. We are going to be moving directly onto the scope video.
Fractures in Empire alliances are...
Is that the Sonny Sobek rock star? Is that who that is? Hold up. Okay. I thought I recognized her name. Oh my god. Man, they are really, really pulling out, like, all of the lore that they set up even back in 2010. Because, like, if you think about it, the whole Belleron and Celis Agard thing started out in 2010 too. Wow. And yeah, they brought her back in 2015. Wait, hold on. Nope, that's the same one. Never mind. Where was it? There was another one. There it is. In 2020, Mindalair's The Red album sells millions of copies over festival period. Critics hail new songs as a new peak for Sonic Sobek genre. Oh my god. Yeah, YC 110 is 2008. That's true. That's correct. Did I say 2010? I'm sorry. You're right. I strongly suspect that the pirate stuff is going to be more this summer, or like the fall. As I've predicted before, I think that the spring expansion is giving stellar transmuters to Nullsec in order to allow them to modify their space. And the winter expansion is when Tashmurkon invades Stain. Okay. Yeah. No, Mindalair is awesome. I am happy to see her back. And I do look forward to her continued tour and hope that they eventually come out with her actual music.